We are here at the Nyl Biodiversity offset area, and we are chatting to the experts and some of the people who actually caused this place to be here. Dean Pelser and Heiner Dominic, they are specialists. And Dean, tell us, well, firstly, welcome here. It's what better setting can we have than sitting here next to the dam? Just had a nice fish angling session, and we are sitting at one of the most beautiful places around. So welcome here, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Thanks for the time, Werner.
Yeah, no, thanks, Werner. Thanks for joining us out here this afternoon. As always, it's just so beautiful to be out here in the environment, especially the environment that we're trying to protect for the future and ensure that it's sustainable for our kids to enjoy one day.
Dean, how did it come about for this place to be developed?
Yeah, now that's an interesting story. How long have we got, you know?
Wrap it up in a few minutes.
In a few minutes, okay. Look, in principle, the property that we're sitting on here today belonged to the municipality. And many years back, there was a significant water shortage in the town of what was then Port Gietersrus, currently known as Mokopane today. And as a result of that, the mine entered into a joint venture with the municipality, whereby they built this stack repeat dams quite close. They built a pipeline that came in. They upgraded the effluent treatment works, all of which they did on the back of then getting the grey water, the effluent water, out to the mine for the mine to be able to use. And that is the Mogalakwena mine. In those days it used to be called the PPL mine. So that was one of the first public-private partnerships that was done in South Africa. I was fortunate enough to champion that on behalf of the organisation that I worked for at that point in time. And out of that, the mine took over a vested interest in property which belonged to the municipality. So parking that for a moment, a couple of years after that, at around 2002, they went and the mine partnered with a whole number of other mining houses, and they established what they called the Lebelela Water User Association, which was made up of 26 mines. And they brought water to the eastern limb, but they brought that water from what used to be called the Rabi Dam. Today it's called Vlagbashilo Dam. And in partnering in getting that water for the mining industry, they had to raise the dam wall of Vlagbashilo, and you might remember that.
Yes, I remember that.
In that process of raising the dam wall, they actually flooded a significant area of the dams they had to buy out the farmers. And one of the interested and affected parties there was Limbuff. Limbuff being the Limpopo Bank Angling Freshwater Fishing Association. That was their club waters, their home waters. So in that flooding process and the consultation that they did with Limbuff, Lebelela had to establish new grounds or home grounds for Limbuff. So at that point in time, Lebelela said, look, it's not a problem. They'll clean up a piece of the water at Skynstry, which is at Vlagbashilo Dam, and Limbuff could use that. They went on, they started to raise the dam wall. The dam was supposed to take 14 years to fill to the new elevation. In the first season, it was already full. So in essence, they flooded the new area. They hadn't debushed the area. And Lebelela asked Limbuff to be patient, and they said, give us 3 years and we'll get it clean. And of course, the water level never dropped. So the bank was never ever established. And at that point in time, I was a director with Anglo American Platinum, and I was also the chairman of Lebelela Water Use Association, so I could see the dilemma, and I knew this piece of property existed. But then it was just literally bushveld and the nails flame. So I suggested that a possible outcome or solution for that was that we'd enter into a joint venture, meaning Lebelela, Limbuff and Anglo American Platinum would enter into a joint venture, and we'd establish this place. So dating back to 2005, the early works were started here. By 2007 we started to host competitions here, and in 2012 we handed it over formally, saying, look, the job is now done. You probably saw when you came in, the boards are up. Lebelela and Anglo American Platinum on behalf of Limbuff Carp and Junior Development Fund. So all the funds that are raised here are literally raised for the Carp Fund and for the Junior Development Fund. Has been going like that now for a number of years. I think in total we're over 13 years already in its existence. And this has just become such a pristine place for angling. We've had international events here, we've had disabled events here, we've made it disably friendly as well in terms of the accommodation and the houses and the swims. We've had clinics here, we've had ladies championships, pen corper championships, inter-school leagues and school championships here. It's really, really been good. When we designed the layout here, I designed it according to the FIPS Ed standards as well as the SAF-BAF standards. So you can host a international feeder fishing tournament. You can do your normal bank angling as well as you can do your FIPS Ed carp angling. And I think all of those have been through here in the past, and we've seen it's really, really works exceptionally well for those type of events. In terms of, so why is it a biodiversity offset area? So behind us there's a mountain range, which I'm sure you guys would have really enjoyed seeing the sunsets around that. So that's already a declared nature reserve in terms of government. So this abuts onto that. So from a mine's perspective, the mine then said, well look, like carbon credits, you get biodiversity offset credits. So for every hectare they disturb in mining, they need to protect X hectares of the environment, and this just lends itself perfectly to that. So the mine has really been good partners to Limbuff and to Lebalelo in that respect over the years, and I think it's a pro quo, because we really, from a fishing perspective, birding perspective, frogging perspective, even photography, the photographers that come through here, it's really, really unique. And I think that's just one of the nice things where one realizes that big corporates can work with community-based entities like your Limbuff for the betterment of all. And I always say to people, it's a success. You come here and you look at the venue and say, oh, it's such a success. But in reality, it's the significance that's going to be left behind for generations to follow that will come through here. And they'll never know how it was formulated, but for them it will be unimportant. The fact is it will still be here, it will be protected, and it will be productive, as you guys have seen today in terms of what's happened. But yeah, it's an environment area that we need to take care of.
So if you look at it, it's not just a normal flay, it's not just a normal river system and a dam. There's a lot of things that has been done, and Heiner, that's where you come in terms of your specialist knowledge and the organization that brings another expertise. Just tell us a little bit about that and what has happened in this dam in the last couple of years.
Well, I'm the CEO of Blue Planet South Africa, and we're a company that specializes in bioremediation and restoration of polluted waterways, rivers, lakes, dams. We've cleaned up the North End Lake in PE in 2016 to 2018. We've done the Easter River in Cape Town. We're currently busy cleaning up the Kuilsrivier in Stellenbosch and Somerset West. So we really combine a number of technologies to get the desired result in removing contaminants from water. Now, our approach here was the Nyl Dam. It's no secret that the Nyl Dam was heavily polluted in 2019 from wastewater leaving the wastewater treatment plant through some mechanical issues. The pollutants made their way into the dam, depositing a lot of sludge, very high levels of ammonia, nitrite and nitrate, which are obviously the nitrite being toxic to fish. There was a large die-off of fish here in July 2019, and we came out and had a look at what can be done to restore the lake, and it was evident that there was a lack of oxygen here. A huge problem. Fish require oxygen, dissolved oxygen. Secondly, there was a lot of sludge in this lake that had been deposited, and there was also a lot of pathogens about, so parasites and pathogens which thrive in anaerobic and anoxic conditions. So we installed nano aeration technology where we're able to infuse 220 million bubbles into 1 milliliter of water. They are only 76 nanometer in size. They cannot be measured with a normal dissolved oxygen meter. And we also installed some micro brewing stations. Now, these micro brewing stations.
Before we go to the brewing stations, just tell us a little bit more about the nano bubblers. How do they work, and what do they actually do? Why do you need them?
So your conventional aerators that are used to aerate water produce mainly macro and micro bubbles. Now macro and micro bubbles will combine and float to the surface and dissipate and only have an oxygen transfer ratio of 5% to 15% depending on the design. With nanobubble technology or nano aeration technology, we're able to get a 95% oxygen transfer ratio into the water. This one means that you can have a very small aerator putting a large volume of oxygen or air into the water, opposed to having massive big aerators on the dam itself.
So higher efficiency, much
higher.
more oxygen into the water.
Correct.
The enrichment is just much better.
Correct. And these nanobubbles are also negatively charged, so that means they're an OH radical and they will oxidize pathogens and organic matter. And ensuring that we've got aerobic conditions within the dam itself. And that lends itself, to bioremediate, to add microbes to that. You require the right conditions. It's called biostimulation.
Okay, carry on with the enzymes.
So with the bacteria and enzymes, obviously when you break down organic matter, as you do through an aerobic process, you release ammonia from organic matter. The ammonia, through naturally occurring Nitrobacter and Nitrosomonas bacteria, will convert from ammonia to nitrite, which is toxic to fish, and then to nitrate. Nitrate not being toxic, but that needs to gas off as nitrogen. So the aeration and the microbial process combined with each other is the perfect fit for us to be able to break down the organic sludge that is settled in here, the contaminated sludge that has entered the dam, and to take it through the nitrification cycle and to denitrify the water that's in this dam.
So with that whole process, the amount of organic sludge that is in here will over time reduce.
Correct. And for that we've installed brewing stations where we are growing organic degraders first and foremost. And these organic degraders are not bacteria, they are enzymes. So the bacteria will produce the enzymes. So our approach to it is that we infuse column recognition compounds so we can grow specific enzymes on site, and these are administered to the dam. We also do a nitrification brew, as we call it, where we grow nitrifying bacteria. Now these are bacteria, not enzymes, and that we apply to the dam as well, and these convert the ammonia through to nitrogen.
That's quite a complex process, from the whole organic process with the oxygen, with the enzymes, with the bacteria, and all of that is aimed at creating balance.
Correct.
How do you measure that, and how do you know whether you introduce the right amounts of whatever?
So what we generally do is we take a water sample so that we can first and foremost establish what's wrong, what the levels of ammonia are, nitrite and nitrate, the CODs, that's the chemical oxygen demand. And chemical oxygen demand is the amount of oxygen required to break down the pollutant in the water. We then have a look at the size of the lake, the amount of water in the lake. We do sludge measurements to see how much of that is organic, and we then have a very, very simple, it sounds complex, but we have a simple calculator whereas we just put in the numbers and it'll kick out to us exactly what is required for the bio-augmentation part of what we do.
What will be the visible effects of that? So if you're getting this right and you get it back to balance and everything is working well, what will we as anglers and what will users of the water and so on see? What is the effect coming through in terms of the results?
I think first and foremost, there was a comment made here just now, have a look at the turbidity of the water. Let's have a look at the how far can you look into the water. If we go back to 2019, this was green and it looked like Homer Simpson had been here with his luminous green. You don't see dead fish lying on the sides in the reeds. That was very, very evident back then. Secondly, what you'll see is very, very healthy fish life. with the naked eye without measuring anything. And I think your fishing here today and yesterday has shown that the fish stocks have recovered very, very well. Then I think most noticeable is if one has a look at the water results in the Nyl Dam. We've got 0.03 milligrams of ammonia in the dam at the moment. We've got 0.001 milligrams of nitrite, so the fish are pretty safe. And it is really funny when and it does happen, it's a mechanical issue, when one does have some aerator problems here, that immediately affects the quality of the water because there's not enough oxygen in the water.
Because it's a driver for all the processes.
Correct. You need the oxygen to make the biological side work. So I think the other thing that one's noticed here is the bird life is back. There's a lot of bird life here, the fauna and flora. I think, Dean, you can definitely, there's a fish running.
That type of real running, taking off like a steam train.
Can I maybe just pause?
I just want to ask that question. In terms of that, the activity of the fish and the way that the fish react and how fast they eat and so on, is that an indication of a healthy system?
100%. And spawning would be your first, we made a comment just now about the schools of Kerper here, the little Kerper. There was none of that back then. And your fish stocks recover very quickly. Your spawning, obviously under aerobic conditions and good water quality is really there. So.
And they eat.
And they eat, and they keep eating.
And that's a good sign.
So it's your food conversion ratio, really. So when one looks at what we do in commercial fish farming, which is your recirculating aquaculture systems, if your water quality is not right, the fish simply don't eat the food. If your water quality is right, the fish eat.
Doesn't matter what you give them.
Doesn't matter what you give them, they're hungry.
Dean, you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to pass a comment when you were saying, so how do you visibly see the changes? And having gone through this cycle and seen what's happened here, we got desperate at a stage before I'd met up with Heine and Blue Planet. I was looking over to the UK to get advice from the UK as to how they're dealing with silt management. We were looking at dredging, we were looking at what they call chalking the water. There was a whole host of things that we were looking at. And as anglers in South Africa, I think most of us know North End Lake. At some point in time, if you've been a competitive or provincial or national angler, you've fished there. And the quagmire that place turned into relative to what it is today after Blue Planet got involved there. And that's how I got to hear about Blue Planet and got quite excited about what they could potentially do for us. So how do you see the changes? Werner, we used to come here in the winter months. You wouldn't, on a wind still day, you wouldn't see a single fish break the water. And I'd often ask myself, what on earth is going on? Have the fish been netted, poached, gone?
Correct.
You couldn't get a bite. And I kid you not, we would hold tournaments, you would not even get a single bite. Once Heine explained the whole process to me, and we introduced the process, as you said, our fish kills are gone. You sit here in the middle of winter now, you think you're in the middle of summer at most lakes, the activity of the fish. The other thing that's significantly different for us and who are anglers who come to fish the venue, the fish are strong. Often we joke and we say these fish are on steroids. They used to be sluggish, and I think that was just purely the lack of oxygen in the water. We at stages were measuring 0% dissolved oxygen at night. So your whole oxygen process dips at night. Now you're still catching bags full of fish at night. We used to catch fish here at stages in the winter that when you land the fish, the gills are bleeding. And you've done nothing to the fish, nothing. And the gills are bleeding. But again, it's because the fish is suffering from a lack of oxygen and that. Now, gone. The pathogens that Heine was mentioning. One of the big issues we're keen on here is we call it carp care. And you probably picked up on it. And, it's the whole, being a biodiversity offset area, the people who come first here is the fish. It's not the angler, it's the fish, it's the birds, it's the frogs, it's everything else here. We're just here to enjoy what's here. But we used to have to regularly treat fish for wounds, injuries, which are introduced from pathogens, bad water. And so we would give the
angler... That wouldn't heal.
That wouldn't heal.
Just wouldn't heal.
And we would give them, it's basically antibiotics. and it's a cleaning solvent, and you put antibiotics on it, and then you start healing the fish. You might have seen some of the fish you caught. You can actually see the old wounds that are perfectly healed.
I could see
and
that,
that's
yeah.
all about quality of water.
Correct.
Heiner, at a stage, he used to say to me, so we've got a water baylet here. We basically managing it as a fishery. But he used to say to me, fish farming is not about farming fish. It's about farming the quality of your water. And I tell you what, we have seen so much significant changes here, both in size, in number, in strength. The bird life that you mentioned that is back. This is one of the most sought after birding venues. Personally, I'm not a birder, but I understand there's over 160 species of bird that you can get in this specific area. So it's actually on the birding route. So we have birding clubs that contact us, obviously with the accommodation here. It's very nice for them as well. And your sunsets and sunrises in particular, all the bird life that comes in and all the bird life that leaves during the course of the day. I don't know if you noticed, there's cormorants, and you must watch the cormorants hunt. And when I say hunt, we are talking like schools or flocks of 200 odd birds, organized hunting in the dam. And then you must realize, well, if your dam can huisves, what's it in Engels? Accommodate.
Accommodate, yeah.
Sustain, yeah.
Sustain.
Exactly. If it can accommodate and sustain that, then you must know you've got a very well-balanced system.
It's quite true what you say. The cattle farmers also say that you don't farm cattle, you farm grass, and the cattle will do its own thing.
Correct.
So it's exactly the same here. You look after the water, and the fish will do the rest.
Absolutely.
What is next for this area and for the Nyl? What is coming up?
So look, at the moment we're still on a program with Blue Planet. Initially after that first environmental spill that the municipality had, and I think we look across our country, I'm not saying it's right, but it's become more commonplace to see untreated effluent being discharged into waterways. I don't think it's by design, clearly not, but when it happens, you can either sit back and complain, or you can become active and get involved and do something about fixing it. And that's what Blue Planet helped the mine and the municipality, Limbuff, everyone involved in resolving. So we anticipated, or Heiner indicated to us, that it would probably be about a 24-month period just to fix up that initial spill. We are now the best part of about 18 months into that process.
18 months in, yeah. Since February last year.
Yeah. There has been another minor spill subsequent to that relative to the first one, but already just because the remediation was in place, I think the impact was far less.
It could handle more of it.
It could handle a bit more of it. I would encourage any other, whoever people involved in managing effluent treatment works, the same technology that they've now deployed in the dam, in the lake, they're now actually deploying in the effluent treatment works. So they've now taken the nanobubblers into the effluent treatment works, into the oxidation ponds, introducing the enzymes in there. Not only here, you're doing in Polokwane as well, and a number of other
and a number of Cape Town, a number of plants in Cape Town.
And that will enhance that process significantly.
100%. That means that the water that's leaving the wastewater treatment plant complies to discharge standards and has no impact on the environment.
Dean, the last thing, the necessity of let's call it venue management rules. You clearly understand that and you're doing it very well. What has been the impact of that type of management rules to venue management and to the quality of the fish and everything that we can enjoy here?
Yeah. So I think, Bernard, you know me quite well, but I think first and foremost for the viewers who don't know, being privileged to represent the country at a number of world championships around the globe, you get to see how different lakes in different countries are managed. And the term water bailiff is not a common term in South Africa, but in Europe it's a very common term. The actually appointing and having a water bailiff who looks after your venue, looks after the environment, looks after the anglers in terms of are they remaining in the rules, understands the water, introduces the management systems that need to be there, it makes a significant difference to your venue. So I think initially when we started to introduce the rules here, well, not I think, I know, people were quite abrupt with us, saying, yeah, but how can we do that, and why are we doing that? And you know, when we started to make people more aware and educate people more that the better you look after the environment, the better you look after the fish, the better the fishing is for you, and you, the angler, you know, the more you can enjoy that when you come in future.
Better experience. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, what's ironic is, because this is part of the Junior Development Fund. Now you must remember, juniors is broken down into sort of 3 categories in our province. So you've got the pen corper, which is under 13s, then you've got the normal junior, which is under 18s, and then we've got the jonge dames and jonge mans, which is under 21. I can show you pen corper, children 6, 7 years old, who understand why a fish needs to be put in a carp cradle, who understand why you need to put medicine on where you remove the hook, who understand why when you hold a fish you must be over the cradle, that if you drop it you can't harm the fish. And if that's the culture I can help establish in the youth today, it will go through for generations into the future, I have no doubt in my mind that angling in South Africa will change, fish care in South Africa will change. And the behavior that we've already seen coming through our rules, as you've indicated, the behavior has already changed. Now you see people going to other venues and they do the same thing. They've got a carp cradle, they've got a carp care kit, and they carp mats, and they're starting to do the same behavior. Some of the tough rules that people, I remember when we said to people, we're taking away the 2-hook rule. You're only allowed to fish with 1 hook. There was absolute panic. You know, we're not going to catch as many fish. And I said, no, you're making a mistake. You're going to catch even more fish. No, but you can't. I mean, I can only try 1 bait. Well, you only catch fish on 1 bait. You know, you don't catch them on the 2 hooks. And I think over time, and you managed to capture some of that yesterday on video, you don't go to a venue and catch 70 plus kilos in 3 hours on 1 hook with 2 rods. It's unique. So people have started to realize this is now a unique venue. The rules are working, and I think the more lakes in South Africa that could start to do that, or the more fisheries in South Africa that could start to do that, we'd start to lift ourselves to European standards. And we all envy some of the big fish we see coming out in Europe, and we can have it in South Africa. On the contrary, our climate's even better. We just need to manage our fisheries better.
Well, it's quite clear that that whatever you're doing here is good, that the measures that you put in, the management plan that is visionary and strategically set out, you have chosen your partners very well in terms of having the experts here to do the right things. I've got no doubt in my mind that this will turn out to be an even better fishery than it is, and I would like to congratulate you and Heine on the massive amount of work that was done here, as well as the good results that we see here.
Yeah, no, thanks, Werner. But at the same time, you know, I realize none of this would have been possible without our real partners. And when I say that in terms of Lebelela Water Use Association, they've partnered with Limbuff. People often say, well, what's Limbuff? And when I say, well, you know what the Stormers is, or you know what the Blue Bulls is, well, that's what Limbuff is. Of freshwater fishing in Limpopo, they the Blue Bulls, or they the Stormers. And in principle, with them, and then Anglo-American Platinum, who's been so kind, this is actually physically their property, of which we get to utilize whilst we protect it on their behalf. You know, without those partners, I don't think something like this would have fallen into place. So it was just a nice meeting of minds at the right time, right place, right outcomes. And I think for the juniors that are coming through the systems and will move through into the future, I really think it's a positive outcome for all stakeholders involved in this.
Thank you very much, and thank you for enlightening our viewers. It was great to chat to you guys.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much. Thanks
for the opportunity.
Nice to be
it was
here.
excellent.